We live in a world where hello is the full extent of knowing someone. A greeting, a wave, a like, a scroll, and suddenly we think we understand lives, hearts, intentions, but don't live in hello. Hello is the doorway, not the dwelling. You can't build a life in the lobby of connection. Yet many souls do just that, never knocking deeper, never opening doors, never asking the second question. We meet, we smile, we move on. All surface, all scripted. But life doesn't happen on the surface. Love, transformation, healing, calling, they live in the unseen depth. Hello was meant to begin something, not replace it. Jesus never stayed at hello. When he saw the woman at the well, he didn't just offer her water, he offered her identity. He saw through her shame, her past, her masks. With Zacchaeus, he didn't wave up into the tree and move on. He said, "Come down. I must stay at your house today." He dined with tax collectors, walked with the broken, called fishermen to be fishers of men. He disrupted routines. His love was not distant. His wisdom was not passive. He knew that human hearts need more than greetings. They need truth that cuts and heals. Jesus never left people where he found them, and he doesn't plan to leave you there either. Jesus' wisdom wasn't confined to moral lessons or clever parables. It was kingdom vision, seeing the world upside down, or perhaps finally right side up. "Blessed are the poor in spirit," he said, "not the powerful, not the loud. The last shall be first." He spoke of lilies and leaven, of lost coins and prodigal sons. His knowledge wasn't stored in scrolls. It was alive, breathing in every story he told. He didn't just talk about truth. He was the truth. And his wisdom challenged not only the sinners but the religious, the prideful, the ones who thought they had it all figured out. His mind carried both eternity and intimacy. There was once a boy, small and quiet, raised in noise. His house was full, full of people, full of distractions, full of devices, but empty in spirit. One day, he asked a question his parents couldn't answer. "Why does God feel far, even when we talk about him?" The room fell silent. Not because the question was blasphemous, but because it was honest. It was a break in the script, a tear in the veil of normal. That question lingered like smoke. No one could answer, not fully. But in that question, something holy was happening. The boy wasn't asking from the surface. He wasn't living in hello. He was diving deeper. That boy began to search, not in textbooks, not just in church, but in silence, in watching, in wondering. He listened to the trees, the laughter of others, the pain in his own chest. He began to realize that maybe God doesn't just dwell in words, but in attention. That Jesus, the Son of God, didn't come to create religion, but relationship. A relationship you can't microwave, a presence you can't fake. And slowly, he discovered, maybe God isn't far. Maybe we are. Maybe we live in the noise of hello, in the show of religion, in the motions of faith. But we've never gone in, never wept in front of truth, never let the silence speak. Jesus' teachings are not all comfort. They are confrontation. He said, "Deny yourself. Take up your cross. Follow me." He warned of false peace, empty religion, and lukewarm hearts. He called out the Pharisees, those who knew all the right words, but had no room for wonder. And yet, he welcomed the children, healed the bleeding woman, paused for the blind beggar. His wisdom wounds before it heals, because it cuts away what was never supposed to be part of us. Pride, fear, ego, addiction. It's not pain for pain's sake, it's surgery for the soul. The child in our story understood that. Sometimes questions are better than answers, because they break us open for real wisdom to enter. Jesus didn't come so we'd live small, safe, sanitized lives. He came so we'd walk in spirit, live in freedom, risk love, and bear fruit that lasts. He said, "Abide in me." That's deeper than hello. That's communion, not convenience. Yet how many of us treat him like a contact in our phone, called only in crisis, ignored in joy, forgotten in routine? The child in the story didn't want a contact. He wanted a companion. He wanted the real Jesus, not the painted one. He wanted the Jesus who weeps, who flips tables, who holds hands, who walks on water. And maybe you do too. Maybe your soul is tired of nodding politely to a God you haven't truly met. So here is the invitation. Not from me, not from a pulpit, not from a page or a performance, but from Christ himself. The same Christ who knelt in the dirt to lift the broken. The same Christ who spoke to storms and they listened, who wept over cities, who sweat blood in Gethsemane. This is not a casual call. This is a divine beckoning, a whisper into the deepest part of your soul. Step beyond hello. Step beyond the safe places. Step beyond polite faith, scheduled prayers, surface smiles. Step beyond the rituals you perform without heart, the verses you quote without reflection, the songs you sing without surrender. Step into the wild unknown of authentic intimacy with God, into the parts of your soul that tremble to be seen, into the silence where answers don't always come quickly, but where presence never leaves. You see, hello is not wrong. It's just incomplete. It was always meant to open the door, not become the room. But too many have camped out in the doorway of faith, content with the echo of God rather than his voice. We've settled for headlines about Jesus rather than the holy hush of his gaze. We've chosen attendance over encounter, movement over meaning, habit over holiness. But Jesus is not calling you to visit him occasionally like a guest in someone else's house. He is calling you to move in, to abide, to stay, to build your life around him, not just include him. He is not content being your Sunday routine or your emergency contact. He wants to be your breath, your anchor, your first thought in the morning, and your final trust at night. Ask the hard questions, the ones you've been afraid to speak, the ones that threaten the tidy faith you were taught but never truly tested. Ask, why do I feel numb? Do I really know God, or do I just know about him? Have I been faking peace? Am I busy doing Christian things while my soul is starving for Christ himself? Let those questions break you open, because that's where the light gets in. Sit in the silence. Let it stretch. Let it strip you of distractions. God often speaks in whispers, not shouts, and it's in the silence, when the noise has faded and the masks have fallen, that you begin to hear him not with your ears, but with your soul. He does not rush. He does not perform. He simply is. And when he speaks, even if just one word, it carries more weight than 1,000 sermons. Don't be content with religion if you haven't found relationship. Religion without relationship is like reading a love letter without knowing the one who wrote it. It may have beautiful words, but it won't change your life. Performance may impress people, but presence transforms hearts. You were never made to perform for God. You were made to walk with him, to lean on him, to know him not as a concept, but as your closest friend, your Redeemer, your Lord. Let his wisdom confront you. Yes, confront, because truth doesn't flatter. It frees, and freedom sometimes feels like fire before it feels like flight. Let his words undo you. Let his gaze unmask you. Let his grace dismantle the lies you've built your identity on. You are not your failure. You are not your status. You are not what others say you are. You are his. And he is waiting, not with crossed arms, but with open ones. Like the child in the story, the one who dared to question, who refused to settle. Let your hunger for truth burn hotter than your comfort with routine. Be brave enough to be spiritually restless. Be bold enough to walk into the mystery. Be humble enough to admit you haven't arrived, and hopeful enough to believe you still can. Because on the other side of hello is the life you were born to live. A life drenched in purpose, rooted in truth, built on unshakable love. On the other side of hello is healing you haven't tasted yet, freedom you haven't dared believe, joy that doesn't depend on circumstance, peace that passes understanding. And most of all, on the other side of hello is Jesus himself. Not the idea of him, not the stained glass version, but the living Savior.